going to talk a little bit about a life that matters. So I love the end of the worship with a history maker. I'm going to be a history maker. That really is God's image throughout human history. He's a history maker. Now that makes sense if he's the creator. So on Thursday, I had a training that had to do with the Tiger Woods Learning Center. And I used that image because when you think Tiger Woods, most of you in the room know that he's a golfer. He's an African-American golfer, and he's one of the best of all history. And it had this kid in it. He's a teenage kid, a Latino kid, and his name's Bob. And he came to the Tiger Woods Learning Center, and his words were, after he'd been in the center for a while, is, wow, I thought I had a big deal. My life was going to be big. And then he lost that thought. And then he went back to the Tiger Woods Learning Center, and he gained that thought again. And he was giving a testimony of this center saying, I know my life is going to be big now. And he was saying that to his grandma who was dead, and his mom was still alive. I know my life is going to be big now. It is built into us to have a life that matters. Now, some have given up hope on that life, but it's built into us to make a difference. Some make a difference for ill, some make a difference for good, but it's built in. So making a difference, sometimes it could be good, sometimes it could be a great difference, sometimes you could miss. There's a legacy that we have built into us, uniquely into us. Now, there are different kinds of legacies that you would all relate to. There would be the legacy of, say, a president, now Obama, just now Bush, after that Clinton. You know, you go back and you think of legacies that big people, big presidents have left. There are legacies of greatness that come on a moment, on an act. You think, those of you that have heard about the pilot Sully that landed that plane on a frozen river instead of a big fiery ball that went up in flames with a bunch of people dying. Those of you that follow the 9/11 happenings, you think of Flight 93, the one flight that went down. Though we don't know how exactly that happened, that was the one plane that caused the least damage at the expense of all the passengers' lives. So you think about that kind of legacy. You think about a life of good deeds, Princess Diana. You think about a life of good deeds, Mother Teresa. These are big names that most of us can relate to in one way or another. We all have barriers to a legacy. Fear could be a barrier to a legacy. Cowardice, you can't stand up to it. Misperception, a missed chance, or just not being able to have the strength to make up to what's in front of us. Here's an idea of a legacy. Hopefully, most of us with our lives want to do more than part a bowl of tomato soup, okay? God gives us power to do something great, and probably what we don't want to be remembered for is parting a bowl of tomato soup. Okay, what we have built in us, whether it's a mighty thing or whether it's something smaller than that, whether it's just living a life that's consistent, whether it's being a good parent, whether it's being good at our job, whether it's making a difference with our friends, those kind of things are things that matter, a life that matters. Okay, we're going to talk about a guy in Scripture. He's just one of the main guys in Scripture. I'm sure you've all heard of him. His name is Jephthah. I'm kidding. He's a little bit obscure as it comes to Scripture. Jephthah is a judge. Okay, we'll talk a little bit about where judges come, but it comes a little before what Joseph has been talking about in terms of David and the life lived after God. This is a man who lived a mighty life, and he was built for that mighty life. So he made his destiny. He also missed in a big way. So here's a man who met destiny and missed at the same time. You're going to get somewhat comfortable, hopefully, with the person that's sitting around you. He or she is going to be your partner. Okay, if you're not used to it, you're going to have to get used to it just for a little bit. It doesn't have to be real deep, but I want you to think about this scripture right here. And I'd like you to read this scripture with me, okay, right here. So all together. Now Jephthah from Gilead was a great warrior. He was the son of Gilead, but his mother was a prostitute. Okay? But his mother was a prostitute. There's a lot of buts in Scripture. Okay? Literally and figuratively. There's a lot of except. Okay? Jephthah was a mighty man. He's a great warrior. And his mother was a prostitute. That wasn't thought of as great then as it is now. Okay? So I want you to think right now about the BUTs right there, butts in your life. What are things that are barriers in your life? What are things that make you relate to Jephthah? What are things that I know I'm this, however, or but, this is in the way? Okay, what are those? I'll give you an example in my own life. I would love to get down to my weight that I was back in the 30s because I have a little bit extra now. But I got to tell you, I really like food. And when I get stressed out, I really like to eat food, a lot of it. And that doesn't help very much. So there's one that's on kind of the surface level. Okay? I want to believe, before I was a Christian, I wanted to believe that God was a good God. He had a plan for my life. I really wanted to believe that. But I didn't. I thought he was a jerk. So think about a but in your life. Okay? Keep it with one T. Okay? Think about that. And could you just turn to the person next to you and share something about that? What might be a but in your life? Okay? Just turn to him. Say, hi, my name is... One quick thing. Come on, you can do it. Just turn, say, this is what. Jephthah had some other issues. Okay, now you know a little bit about that person. Just hold on to that. It might be somebody you know really well or not very well at all. You're going to come back with them just a second. Just, have an interaction with them. Okay, Jephthah didn't start with the problem with his mom being a prostitute. That problem proliferated. It got bigger. Okay, for him, it meant that his half-brothers were going to kick him out of the land and kick him out of his home. So Jephthah became homeless because of his background. You won't get any of our father's inheritance, for you are the son of a prostitute. So Jephthah gets rejected. He gets repelled. Okay, so his background, though he's a mighty man, becomes less because of his background. He's also an illegitimate son. And he's kicked out by his brothers, and he's forced to live a different kind of life. Those things that are the howevers of our life, those things can define us. And there's no way around the howevers of our life. They are there. What we do with them is what we do with them. But the howevers are in every life that's in the room right now. You have a however. You have a but. I am this, however. I am this, but. And a lot of times, these circumstances that follow the howevers or the buts of our life are the things that embitter us. They embitter us to people. They embitter us to family members or people we care about. They embitter us even more to enemies or people we don't like. And they embitter us to God. Now, I know in the church we don't say things embitter us to God, but they do. Whether you're in the church or whether you're not, whether you know who God is or not, things embitter us to God. They get in the way, and they give us a perception of God that he's mean, he's angry, and he really just wants to smite or destroy us. Okay, here's an idea that I think fits many of us in this culture.